There you go. Okay, sorry. This is good. This needs to be recorded. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So, thinking about change, ambivalence is a pretty expected part of it. Even someone that calls you or responds to something you post on Facebook and says, yeah, I'm all in. There's probably part of them that isn't all in. So what stood out to me was this idea of the stages of change, which is the picture of the book that I posted for you guys, Changing for Good. This comes out of that. So kind of the crash course in this. People may be doing something in their lives right now that they're totally not ready to change, and that's called pre-contemplation. So I'm not interested in losing weight or starting an exercise program or changing my diet. All right, those are the folks that are going to sit in the background on your Facebook page and watch and hopefully not be negative. They may be ones that are just nasty, and that will be people you'll have to sort out. But this stage is important to pay attention to, because you may have folks that are in pre-contemplation because they don't think they can change. So there is a confidence component to this. They may desperately want to, but have failed before and feel like, I can't do it, so I'm not thinking about it now. So just kind of keeping that in the back of your head when people say, no, I don't want to do this. Contemplation is now ambivalence. So they want to change. Maybe I should do something. Maybe I shouldn't do something. And this is the stuck point. And so this is where we see people that are watching us on Facebook and are like, wow, you're getting great results. I don't know if I could do that. Oh, this is where the money questions come up. It's a lot of money. All of those things. They're all kind of red herrings for ambivalence. I want to do something. I don't know that I want to do something. And motivational interviewing is really designed to be here to help folks with contemplation and to kind of push them forward into preparation and action. Preparation is just that. They're thinking about, now what I do want to do something, what is it I'm going to do? Action, they're doing it. This is all of the folks in our challenge groups. And then gradually over time, people will move into what's called maintenance, where they basically, it just is now part of how they function in the world. In addictions treatment, we talk about maintenance not being for at least 6 months, because there's so much attached to a behavior that you kind of have to get it really solid, even though the kind of pop psychology stuff is a habit forms in 21 days. It really takes several months for it to become just part of how you function in the world. So this is where we're hoping folks get to. Relapse is this piece where we slide backwards, and it can happen at any stage. So someone can be in maintenance and action and slide back. They can be in contemplation and slide back. We can push someone backwards in how we talk to them. So that's the motivational interviewing piece. So kind of crash course on MI. The goal of this is that the motivations have to come from the person, not from us. It's their job to articulate why they want to do this and to figure out their ambivalence. We can help them figure that out, but it's their job to figure it out. Direct persuasion will not help someone resolve ambivalence. This is the tension, and Beachbody talks about it a fair amount in their training materials. This is not salesy. Sales is direct persuasion, and you will shove someone backwards away from you rather than towards you, because you are asking them to make a behavior change. This isn't just buying a car. This is about health and behavior change. And then this is really the big one. Readiness to change is not an individual trait. So it's not that that person is motivated or not motivated. Motivation comes out of the relationship with you and how you interact with them. So this is one that we all fall into because we love Beachbody. Obviously, we became coaches and we have seen the results and we're excited about it. And so we can easily get pulled into what MI calls the righting reflex, which is basically we all have an internal desire to try to make things right and to help and to solve a problem, except when we get into that move with someone, it pushes them backwards. When I train this in person with people, I ask for a volunteer, and maybe you can visualize this, where I have someone come up and stand in front of me with their hands up, and I have them push against me. And basically, I'm asking them to push as hard as they can, and I'm pushing back at them. And the more I push, the harder they push. The minute I stop pushing, they have to stop pushing. So it's kind of this visual explanation of where I don't want to be in this fight with them. I want to drop the fight so that they drop the fight. Basically, the side of an argument that someone picks is the side they're going to get committed to, and they will pick the opposite side that you pick. So if you pick, you have to do this, they'll say, no, I don't, and they'll get committed to that. So that's really the trick of MI, is you not telling, you not directing, and really being like, why do you want this? What's really important to you? And don't be afraid to ask about things that are working for them about what's happening right now. This is, you know, if it was easy to change, they would have already done it. They don't need us to figure out how to do this. What they need is the support and kind of figuring out what is in the way. And when you ask them what's working about what's happening in their lives right now, that's where you'll find out kind of the positives and the piece that you're going to have to jump. So for me, for example, food is one of my stress coping mechanisms. If that wasn't something, and Leah actually did ask me about it early on, if I didn't identify that, then when I was under a stressful situation, it would be very easy for me to slide backwards, versus knowing that and knowing that I'm going to have to learn another way to manage stress if I'm not going to resort to eating ice cream and chocolate cake. So you have to find out about what's working for someone about their current behaviors.
I have a question for you that you may address later, Katie. Sorry to interrupt, but a lot of us already have coaching relationships with people.
Yes.
And many of us might be not doing it this way, particularly when these people are in our personal lives. We might be the direct attack. Here's what you need to do. Let's educate you. Ping, 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 ping.
Right.
Is it possible? Are those relationships able to be repaired through this method?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. You can't. So basically, when you have someone back off and throw up what in MI we call resistance, you know you overstepped. And so at that moment is the time to say, whoa, okay, clearly I went further than you. So tell me again, let's go all the way back to the beginning and tell me why this might be interesting to you. Or tell me about what your goals are. So you absolutely repair those. Absolutely. I do it all the time. You will get ahead of folks. Let's see. Assumptions to avoid. The person ought to change. Health is the person's prime motivating factor, which this seems kind of weird considering what we're trying to engage people with, but health is not always everyone's main motivating factor. You can have someone that, is at serious risk of coronary disease, and they're more concerned about socializing with their peer group than they are about changing their drinking or their eating habits. So really finding out what is the person's motivating factor. Now is the right time to consider change? Not necessarily, and never. We are not the expert. They are. We have some knowledge about Beachbody and things that might be helpful to them, but we are not the expert on their lives. They are. Here are the core easy skills, and it's motivational interviewing does a great job of just giving lots of acronyms. ORS. That's it. Open-ended questions, affirmations, reflections, and summaries. And if you can have most of your conversations with people on these 4 things, you won't trip into kind of the mistakes in pushing someone. So, and I honestly, Leah, I'm thinking back to the very first conversation we had, and you did so much of this stuff. Of just asking, what was it that I was looking for? What have I tried before? What has helped? What hasn't worked? Affirmations, we get that in our groups. And if you think about the ones that maybe you've heard from people, when they really are personal and they really are about something specific to that person, more than just go girl sort of stuff, that's really meaningful. So when you're giving affirmations, really make them about that person. Tie them back to their goals, tie them back to something that you saw them struggling with earlier, those sorts of things. Has to be sincere. It can't just be like cheerleading. That it just sounds bogus.
I'm sorry. I really hate the cheerleading too. I hate it. It's true.
It ends up sounding like, you're cheesy, knock it off.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, go so over the top.
Yeah.
Like that it's silly.
Yeah. So reflective listening at the end of the day is really your core. And this is really about basically going into your assumption with a conversation with someone that you don't know what they mean. Just because what they said was this, you need to make sure you understand what that means. So I want to be stronger or healthier. Well, what does that mean to me versus to someone else? And so reflective listening gets you there, and it gets you out of like question, answer, which ends up sounding like a quiz. So, Katie, I heard you say that when you were younger, you really felt like an athlete, and that felt really good to you at that time. Yeah. And then the person will start telling you more about it. So it's a way to advance the conversation without drilling them. It also is a way to make sure that you understood that what they have said, that you're getting it, and that you really care about them. So thinking reflectively is just always that piece in the back of your head. Do I understand what this person is telling me? Am I getting it? And then roadblocks. And I can't wait to get to Summit because it will be interesting to hear how many of these I hear. But even if you listen in your own lives, we all do this. Probably we have partners that do this to us and we want to smack them. But when you get stuck in any of these things, so ordering, warning, giving advice, arguing or logic, judging, criticizing, even overly approving, shaming, blaming, interpreting, all of these things end up being roadblocks to a good conversation and to people feeling heard. You will build relationships with your customers when they feel like you have heard them and you really get what it is that they want. It will build the relationship, and it will really help you kind of target the best way to be helpful to them. That, at the end of the day, is what MI is doing. And then summaries at the end of the conversation, or even in the middle, if you feel like you got a ton of information and you got to make sense of it. Kind of giving a quick summary of like, so you've said, you've tried Weight Watchers, you've tried Slim Fast. I'm trying to think of all of the different things that someone could try. You've tried going to gyms and you're able to do it for a month or two and then it sort of falls apart. And, so you kind of give them back all of what they've said so you make sure you're getting it. And then at the end of a summary, you want to use one question really just to ask, and so where do we go next? That's kind of this question of like, I got all the information, now what do we want to do with it? What do you want to do with it? And see where they take it. Change and resistance. So in our ideal world, our clients are all super motivated and want to do this, and we can sell every one of them challenge packs without blinking an eye. As at least I've been learning, it's not that easy. So I think the conversation this came up in was around what is called sustained talk in MI. So people talking about things in a way that is about maintaining the status quo. So intentions not to change, disadvantages of change, advantages of the status quo, and pessimism about change. Whenever you hear any of these things, you have gotten ahead of the person. So they're expressing their ambivalence. Intentions not to change might be things like, not now, I've got 2 toddlers around the house and I just can't give time to this. I don't want to stop having dessert every night. So when they blatantly just say it. And there may not be any wiggle room in some of those. It depends on kind of how they say it and what the issue is. And it depends on what else they've given you that is in the direction of change, that you can kind of be like, okay, so it sounds like right now with 2 toddlers around the house, it would be really hard for you to commit to this. And at the same time, you're struggling to really keep up with your 2 toddlers and feeling really out of breath by 10 in the morning, chasing them all around the damn house. And so then you're kind of sharing both sides, and hopefully they'll move towards the change side. But that one you would play out with them. Disadvantages of of change is the big one, that is the money issue that we hear. So I can't spend that kind of money on this. That's not about money. We all can come up with money when it's important enough to us. I just went out and bought a new dress because I have a wedding to go to, and it was important enough to me to have a new dress to go to it, versus, I didn't want to buy something else. I don't have the money for that. Well, that's bullshit. So it's almost never about the money, unless it truly is someone that is destitute and just like they can't come up with it. But the money conversation is really about, I'm not sure I want to make this change yet. And money is a really easy one to throw out there. And most people will back off around money. So for motivational interviewing, really how you tackle that is reflecting back that, it's a lot of money. I get it. I definitely had that feeling myself the first time someone told me what this was going to cost. And at the same time, I remember you saying that, you've been really struggling with this issue for a long time, and you feel like you don't want to be this out of breath and feel this worried about whether or not you're at risk for a heart attack or diabetes or some other health condition. So you're offering them both sides of the ambivalence. You're not arguing with them. You're validating their concern about money while also reflecting to them, and you had some other things that were really important to you. Now, if they stick on the money thing, what you can do is, and this is an amplified reflection, and you got to be kind of delicate with it because you can sound like a smart ass, but you can say to people, so it sounds like right now, losing those 20 pounds just isn't worth that amount of money to you. And it's kind of a way, and it works. It sounds snotty, but it totally works. It's kind of a way of jarring them a little without being like you're being an idiot. It's just kind of naming that. So you're saying that spending this money on Shakeology or this challenge pack is not, it's not as valuable to you as staying the way things are, basically. But again, if you get a reaction like, you're being a bitch, then you kind of got to make a repair and bounce back. But I really have never had that happen because you're just saying something they've already told you. Advantages of the status quo are really things like, I don't know how I would relax after work without my glass of wine. It's the dead of winter and I really don't want to get out of my warm, cozy bed an hour earlier to work out. Those sorts of things. And it's just the flip side of the disadvantages of change. And it's helping you identify with the person the things that are going to be their challenges and their barriers. And again, it's just a matter of validating those, reflecting them back, and kind of balancing them with and what their goals were, what they were hoping to have happen. Pessimism about change is a really big one. This one is, I don't think I can do this. I could never stick with that. I'm not social. Being in a Facebook group would be too overwhelming for me. These are all of those things that are founded in fear and anxiety, lack of confidence, lack of self-efficacy, the feeling that you could actually make this change. So this one is really about reinforcing that they can make this change. It's all affirmations and it's validating that, yeah, it is scary, but you can do it. Hopefully you've heard some other things that they maybe have done that have been hard and can use that in your reflection. Frankly, even being on the phone with someone that they may not know well or may not know at all can be really hard. So even using that as part of your validation of like, hey, you know, but you did take this one first step and that's really challenging too. So, you know, it sounds like this is really important to you and you were brave enough to do this. So I'm wondering how you might kind of rally some of that bravery to try something else. Kind of tackling when they're feeling that pessimistic about it. So sustain talk and change talk, this is really the one I want to get to and just give you guys a couple quick tools that you can use. What you want to listen for is anything that sounds like the direction of change, and another fabulous acronym, darn cats. So desire, ability, reason, need, commitment, activation, and taking steps. When you hear anything that sounds like these items come out of someone's mouth, you really want to reflect them back and reinforce them. So desire is, I want to do this. I wish I could run 5 miles. I wish I could keep up with my teenagers. Ability is, I have done this before. I love how I feel when I work out regularly. I can find $100 to do this. All of those sorts of things. Reasons, anything, you know, my still Big Bag Theory line, my family is the poster children for cardiac disease, diabetes, stroke, and cancer. That's a huge reason. What are the reasons that they're naming? Needs are another one. I need to be in better shape to keep up with my kids. I need to be in better shape to ride effectively. And importance, maybe an aspect of a need that maybe they haven't said the specific reason, but they're talking about how important it is. When you hear commitment language, I am going to do this. I am going to go out and buy new sneakers tomorrow. I downloaded FitnessPal. All of those sorts of things are commitment, activation, and taking steps. So again, anytime you hear any of these things, you want to be focusing your reflections on this side of it so that you're getting them to say more of it. The more you can get them talking this way, the more likely you are to get them engaged in the product and with you, because they're digging their heels in deeper on the side of the sand we want them on, which is in the direction of being healthier and making some good choices in their life. So here's a couple quick tools for you guys. The rulers are a really easy one that you can do with folks. And what you do, and there's a twist to this. So you ask folks on a scale of 0 to 10, how important is this to you? How much do you want to do it? And how confident are you that you can do it? Those are the 3. The trick, though, is when they give you their number, you ask them, why are they not lower? So if someone gives me a 4, I ask them, why are they a 4 and not a 2? Don't ask, how could I get you to 7? Or what would get you to 7? Because that invites sustain talk. By asking them why they're as high as they are, even if they're at like a 1 or a 2, asking them why they're that high gets them talking about reasons to change versus reasons not to change. So when they say, you know, this is important to me right now, maybe a 5. Okay, so why are you at a 5 instead of maybe a 2 or a 3? Well, you know, my father was just in the hospital for heart failure, so it's kind of really pressing on my mind right now. So you're getting them to talk about their reasons. So that's the twist with this one. The decisional balance is kind of this game that you play with folks where you do this 4 quadrant, and I should have drawn it on the slides for you. But you're asking them, what are the pros of changing, the pros of not changing, the cons of changing, and the cons of not changing. And this is kind of in-depth, and you may not get into this level with folks, but it can give you a guide for asking questions. And again, what you're actually trying to invite their resistance so that you can talk to them about it and it doesn't like slide out at you at the last minute and you're kind of thrown by it. So it's just a kind of a pros and cons conversation. And then describe a typical day is another one to kind of walk through with people where they might have barriers to making this change, and kind of figuring out where are opportunities for sliding in small changes with them. So you'll start to see the concerns kind of come out pretty naturally. Maybe they say to you by 2:30, I'm just exhausted at work and struggling to get through the rest of the day. All right, well, that might very well go to the fact that they're out of shape and not eating well. Maybe their sleep is off. So you can kind of get to what are the things that might be in the way for them. And then support self-efficacy. This is a biggie on both sides of it. So if you have someone that really is digging in their heels on the side of no, like they've engaged in a conversation with you about this, but then they're really backing out, being able to say to them, you know what, this is totally your choice. And if it's not the time for you to do this, that's cool. I get it. I'm here for you when you feel like you might want to do it, and that's awesome. So it kind of hands it back to them without you taking it personally and without them feeling like you're in this hard sell mode with them. And then the other side of that is, as people are moving in the direction of change, being able to really use affirmations and be supportive of like, you can do this. I've done it. I struggled with some of the things that you are struggling with. You have been able to make changes in other places and done things. So really kind of basically being the one that's holding the self-fulfilling prophecy for them in the direction of a positive change, but without it being salesy. So that's like the ultimate crash course in motivational interviewing. And really, at the end of the day, kind of the takeaways for me are being able to really understand where people are coming from and why they're wanting to do this, and knowing that the more I push in the direction of change, if someone is putting up something that sounds like resistance, the more likely I am to get more resistance. And so backing off from that and validating whatever concern or fear or issue they're bringing up, and trying to redirect towards goals and things that they've mentioned: needs, goals, wants, desires, all of those sorts of things. Whew. That's like the fastest I've ever taught MI in my life.
Okay, I just want to say something.
Yes.
Whoever is listening to this and whoever hears this recording, this is one of the best educational Beachbody training presentations I have heard, including everything I've ever heard from Summit. It is incredible. The gift that you have just been given is what I am paying in my IPEC coaching about 10 grand for.
Holy crap, it's that much?
IPEC side 10 grand.
Wow.
You need to charge Katie.
So
Katie,
I'm
you better up
telling
your
you,
prices.
Yeah, you better up your prices.
and this is actually through the IPEC. And now that I've decided that Katie is my new partner in training, she likes it or not, and we'll figure out the sustain talk and the change talk later.
Yeah.
Is if our team can be based on this, I think the explosion will be huge, not only in your customer base,
Yes.
but in your coach base.
Yes.
A couple of comments. I didn't want to interrupt you again and get you going, but I did want to revisit a couple of areas.
Yep.
One, you caught me in one that I do regularly in the challenge groups. It probably makes you cringe when I'll say, rank your day 1 to 10, and somebody else say I'm a 6, and I'll say, how can you get it to an 8?
Yes.
And so that was one I'm guilty of, and that's actually, one that comes out of the Beachbody. There's a couple of things that come out of the Beachbody training that I actually might want to get with Katie a little late now on our 60 posts, and maybe restructure some of those in ways to invite more engagement and more change for the participants, because I think one of the biggest mistakes or problems or issues with our challenge groups is we get a handful of people that commit for life, they become coaches, and the rest of them fall off the bandwagon, or as some of us are seeing in our groups right now. And I think it's because the daily posts are not designed to create ultimate change. They're more kind of yelling and preaching. So that's one thing I would like to work on.
Yes.
Katie, you're nominated. And yeah. So, and the other is, when you talked about somebody that keeps sticking on the price, and you say, so it sounds like losing that weight isn't worth $140 to you right now.
Yeah.
This is an approach that at IPEC, and this is one that I used in my recent calls, that I was wondering if this would be in line with, as you say, so what's your goal? This is one thing I just used. So tell me what your goal is for the next 60 days. Well, I want to be able to do 5 push-ups, or I want to be able to lose 20 pounds, or I want to be able to feel safe in the saddle. Well, if you achieve that goal, how would that feel? What would that, that would feel awesome. Well, what would that be worth to you? Well, I can't put a price on that.
There you go.
Because it's $140 for a challenge pack. That's way less than I can't put a price on it, right? So you can that direction.
Yes.
You built up this excitement where you have put a value on it greater than, come on, people, $140, $160, that's pennies.
Yeah.
And so that's way that you can approach, and then if you still get this, the pushback, you can go there. But I think that approach has worked really well, because the 3 people that purchased challenge packs from me this last week all were like, by the time we were there, they were all in. I think they would have stroked a check for $1,000. I'm telling you, it was like, they're all in. So
yes.
I wanted to really point out that that's a way. And the other thing I thought about, maybe we could develop a little script that people could use in their calls for our new coaches, that kind of, I've already put together some open-ended questions, and maybe in the part of this, we could put together a little, 6 or 10 questions to ask somebody when you get them on the phone, or when you're talking to them about a challenge pack, or maybe put together 30 questions with highlights of the 6 that have worked best for me, or something like that, to give people some tools. Because I know that the ones I used, the open-ended questions are really key. And I want to tell you, validation is the most, and that's what we're learning in IPEC, that validation is actually the most valuable tool, and you will gain more relationships.
Yes.
So, I can imagine how difficult it has to be a single mom and try to balance work and a career and your horrible ex-husband, right? And then the closed-ended to confirm. Closed-ended questions. So if I hear you correctly, you're telling me that working out in the morning is very difficult, but after 4 o'clock, when your daughter's at soccer, you're able to get some time.
Yes.
And just another point, that I use the closed-ended for closed-ended to confirm in my coaching, and I have actually had people go, no, that's not what I said. That's not what I meant. So that's a really, really important time to say, so if I hear you correctly, what you're telling me is that.
Yes.
And it makes people feel really special that you're taking the time.
Yes.
And it does give you an opportunity to make sure you are hearing it right. And again, the other that you mentioned was the summary. And that's a big take-home message. So, let's just summarize what we've talked about today to make sure we're clear. Your intention is to purchase a 21-day fix, and we've got you with Vanilla Shakeology, and you're really excited to start your morning workouts. And the way that you want to be held accountable is through text messages if you don't check in after 72 hours. Did I have that correct? Yes, you have all of that correct. Bang, push the button, and there you have it.
Yep.
So I am really, really excited about this. I really thank you, Katie. This PowerPoint was awesome. It was a fantastic. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
I am so excited about this. This is really opening up some doors that's going to make everybody feel a lot more comfortable with what they're doing.
Yes.
So with that, I want to open up to questions. Does anybody have any questions? We've got just a few minutes before we got to let everybody get back to their evenings, because some really important TV shows are coming up.
I have a question. So Katie, maybe this is just because of the fact that I'm a new coach and that I'm still working my warm market. So I have 4 people in a challenge group for this upcoming in May, starting tomorrow. And they're all people that I know very well. They're my friends. And several of them have asked me to quote unquote, ride their asses.
Yep.
So I feel like a lot of your presentation was about people that are initially resistant to change, but also having been the person that has sat there and said, ride my ass, but realistically like not really wanted that. You know, like I say I want that, but I don't really want that.
Yes.
So how do you, I guess like when a person's mouth is saying one thing, but their heart is saying something else, like how do you get true to them with respect to that?
So I would ask them, tell me about why you need me to ride your ass. Like what is your goal out of that? Because underneath of that, there's a lack of confidence, there's a lack of motivation, there's something that's happening, and you need to get to that so that you can actually address what the issue is. If you opt to just go with the ride their ass approach, and what you'll probably find is they'll start to fade into the background, and this was one of the questions that Leah had asked earlier, you'll probably have to go back and do a little repair and be like, okay, so I rode your ass and you're disappearing on me. What do we do now? What's happening? It seems like you're kind of fading out. How do I help you get back to reaching this goal of being able to keep up with your two toddlers and not be winded by 10 o'clock in the morning, and kind of moving back more into the push from behind side. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm like internalizing like how I can use that and apply it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anybody else have questions? Okay, great. I don't have anything to add. There's nothing else that we need to talk about. Again, make sure you click end recording to end the recording. And once we disconnect, it'll give you an opportunity to download that or something. This is where I always fail miserably. So I'm kind of glad you're the host, because maybe you'll do a better job than I do. I've trashed everyone I've tried to record. So hopefully this one works.
Okay.
And what I don't know, I wonder if I have to stay on for it. I don't know. We'll have to see whether you can download it or what's going to happen.
Okay.
And if it makes a mistake, then you can just do it again. Seriously, you will change. You will not feel like a salesperson when you take this approach. It takes all the sale out of it because you're stepping out of the way. And I really, truly believe when you look at what the top coaches are doing, this is what they're doing. This is how they're approaching this. There's no question in my mind, because most of the top coaches have been trained by some other top coach, like a Tony Robbins or whatever. And that's what this is all about, is getting the buy-in from the person.
Yep.
Where you're not doing the selling. So this is one of the most valuable team calls I think that we will ever have. So thank you again, Katie. Does anybody have anything to add? If not, we're going to let you guys go and try to figure out how we can download this thing. Got it? All right.
Nope.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
All right.